Hi, I'm Elisa Kuznetsov.
And I'm Dan Chinitz. Today, the Badger Report will catch you up on a busy and exciting week here in Madison.
Candidate enters the gubernatorial race. Does Malin Mitchell have what it takes to get into the governor's office? Find out next on the Badger Report.
And we'll take a look at how hundreds of cranes are flocking to central Wisconsin before the holiday season.
Coming up today on the Badger Report, we'll take a look at why so many Americans are stressed and ways you can deal with it.
Also, we'll take a look at how the men's hockey coach is taking on another important role come February.
All this and more on the Badger Report.
From Vilas Hall on the UW-Madison campus, this is the Badger Report.
Another Democratic gubernatorial candidate has challenged Governor Walker.
Firefighter Union President Malin Mitchell joined 7 other candidates in the race. The Badger Report's Chris Lewinberg has more.
Democratic gubernatorial candidate Malin Mitchell wants you to join a fight.
Because we're in a fight for our future, folks. We're in a fight for better health care. We're in a fight for our families. We're in a fight for our children. We're in a fight for better wages, better jobs, education, a better day in Wisconsin so that all will be able to benefit, not just a select few.
Mitchell announced his candidacy Monday on a platform of improving the quality of life for working-class citizens.
Together we can win this fight. Together we can bring real lasting change. That's what we can do for this great state with all hands working.
Mitchell's background as a firefighter union representative led him to a failed run for lieutenant governor in the 2011 recall elections, but his strong stance against Governor Walker's policy has already attracted supporters.
Citizens are struggling, and I think he can make the right choices to get our state back in the right direction.
Mitchell's campaign hopes that his background in union leadership will help attract working-class voters. But he's joining a crowded ring of Democratic candidates all vying for the governor's office.
Mitchell joined 7 other contenders in the race. Activist Mike McCabe, former party chairman Matt Flynn, notable businessman Annie Gronick, State Senator Kathleen Vinehout, school superintendent Tony Evers, and Representative Dana Wachs have all announced their candidacies, and at least 2 more, including Madison Mayor Paul Soglin, are also expected to run. With stiff competition, Mitchell will need to stand out of the crowd.
He, as a union leader, has advocated on behalf of those working families. The decisions that he makes, people live and die by. So that's really what sets him apart.
The Democratic candidate will be selected during the primary on August 14th. But in the meantime, Malin Mitchell's campaign is getting crowds fired up.
Are you ready? Yeah! I can't hear you. Are you ready? Yeah! I can't hear you. Are you ready to do this?
The Badger Report, I'm Chris Lewinberg.
Governor Scott Walker has joined a growing number of Republican lawmakers who have called for Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore to step aside. Moore has been accused of pursuing minors while in his 30s. Walker, who stated previous allegations against Moore were unsubstantiated, called for Moore to step aside Monday after one woman claimed Moore sexually assaulted her when she was 16. Other allegations have come to light against former President George H.W. Bush and Minnesota Senator Al Franken.
Democratic candidate Randy Bryce received a big endorsement Tuesday in the race for Wisconsin's 1st congressional district. Senator Bernie Sanders announced he is endorsing Bryce, a labor activist from Caledonia. Bryce, who is running to unseat House Speaker Paul Ryan, must first win a Democratic primary this August ahead of the general election in November. Why are so many people feeling stressed, and what can they do to lower their stress when getting together with families over the holidays? The Badger Report's Spencer Mackey finds out more.
A new study by the American Psychological Association found that 63% of Americans are stressed about the fate of the nation.
The fate of the nation?
Like where it's headed.
Yes. Yeah. I think every day I always am.
Despite age differences, 59% believe we are at the lowest point in our nation's history. UHS psychologist Dr. Robert McGrath said he has noticed a change in stress over the last several years.
In the last 5-6 years, there's that much more stress that people are experiencing and so on.
The main causes of stress are the economy and health care.
Well, I have 2 little boys with disabilities, and a lot of the changes to special education and a lot of the potential cuts to funding for individuals with disabilities stresses me out.
For a stress-free Thanksgiving, McGrath suggests avoiding politics and focusing on family.
One of my side is Democratic, one's more Republican, but because of that, there might be somewhat of an awkward tone where no one really talks about politics.
We try not to bring it up, but my in-laws, they like to talk about it a lot.
A lot of time to have a conversation about political, and particularly if you know that there's a divide. So rather than focusing in on those serious, tense things, which is going to increase stress, let's have a good laugh.
For the Badger Report, I'm Spencer Mackey.
The GOP has unveiled their new tax plan, but one Wisconsin Republican is not on board. Yesterday, Senator Ron Johnson became the first Republican lawmaker to flatly oppose the tax overhaul in its current form. Johnson's opposition may spell trouble for Republicans, who can only lose 2 votes in the Senate for their plan to pass. A University Health Services is now sponsoring a free 30-minute online suicide prevention training program called At Risk. The program teaches participants to recognize students in distress, respond appropriately, and refer them to campus and local resources. The goal of the program is to create confidence in students when engaging in difficult conversations. After completing the program, students are given a list of services available on campus and in the Madison community to refer to their peers.
By doing this, you're providing a more healthy environment for these people, and you're helping them, you're saving lives by doing this.
The City of Madison is proposing a new way to get around. Madison Metro Transit plans to bring rapid travel by bus to the city, and it could become reality in the next few years. The Badger Report's Lily Hansen has the story.
Students waiting for buses. This is a common sight on the streets of Madison. And with colder weather right around the corner, Metro Transit has a bigger issue on hand when it comes to finding room for students on already crowded buses.
They're usually pretty full, like during the weekdays around like 4 o'clock and like during the day when people are always on the buses.
I think the proposal currently for bus rapid transit is incredible, so that's what they should do.
The City of Madison is proposing the creation of a bus rapid transit, or BRT, system.
The goals of implementing BRT is to not only improve the speed, but also the efficiency of buses within the Madison area.
According to the Madison Area Bus Rapid Transit Study, the Transportation Planning Board estimated that a BRT system could shorten the commute from Capitol Square to West Town from over 50 minutes to only 35 minutes. Those involved in the process say the biggest tool for implementation is public opinion.
Public involvement will be everything from where does the line start and end to what types of urban furniture amenities are available at stops. Which stops are chosen? Is the stop on one side of the road or the other? Those are the sorts of things that we will be reaching out to the public for and trying to figure out, what is important to the public.
The proposal for BRT is currently still in phase 1, but city planners hope to have the project finalized by 2018 and Madison's first BRT constructed by 2023. For the Badger Report, I'm Lily Hansen.
Stay tuned. We'll take a look at the weekend forecast from Jacob Swanson.
And up next, we'll hear how the cramped workout spaces and a new dumbbell policy has Ogg Residence Hall have students wishing the Southeast Recreational Facility was still open.
In 1905, we made a promise. We promised that our work at Wisconsin would make life better for our state. Our research has developed crops, restored lakes, cured diseases, uncovered history, peered into space, and saved lives. More than a century later, we've not only kept our promise to Wisconsin, we've extended it to the world. On Wisconsin. More than a century ago, we made a commitment to our state. We promised to educate the sons and daughters of Wisconsin. More than 1 million students have passed through our doors. Our alumni have gone on to cure diseases, grow crops, build skyscrapers, found companies, score touchdowns, orbit the moon, and achieve beyond our wildest dreams, but not beyond theirs. On Wisconsin.
A pulse, felt by one, sends a ripple, felt by some, a shiver, felt by many, until it amplifies, magnifies into a tremor that electrifies. Badgers everywhere, moving as one, tilting the world on its axis.
At the turn of the last century, we made a promise to our state. We promised that we would not rest until we made life better for Wisconsin. We looked in our own backyard and we planted different crops, bred new herds, identified vitamins, improved harvesting machinery, established food safety standards, and churned a lot of ice cream. We haven't stopped working to make life better for our state and the world on Wisconsin.
In the last month, 3 terror attacks have shocked the country.
2 weeks ago, just days before the New York Marathon, a terrorist drove a truck into bikers in Manhattan. 8 people were killed in this incident. Because of these types of attacks, the Madison Marathon security went the extra mile to make sure its participants were safe.
In light of the recent terrorism, UWPD has taken a hard look at their security policies for large local events like the Madison Marathon.
Some of our focus has turned to the outside of events. You look at what happened at the Ariana Grande concert, and that wasn't a targeted event inside the concert venue, it happened outside.
There was still great turnout at the Madison Marathon and Half Marathon, with runners lining up for a brisk 7:10 start time at the Capitol. Runners were given a special sheet with color-coded flags, which represent different security threat levels.
Well, there was a lot of police present and a lot of security implemented in the beginning, and I felt safe. I felt like everybody did a really good job, and the runners, we were given like a sheet too with like a breakdown. While police say that security is important, there hasn't been a major increase. Things are going pretty smoothly here.
For the Badger Report, I'm Stella Porter.
Terror attacks like the recent ones on the bike path in Manhattan and the Texas church shooting on November 5th have caused some Madison area churches to add armed guards to their entrances. Madison police officer Matt McGolan says the security may feel uncomfortable, but with churches being accessible to everyone, they can become an easy target. President of the Madison Sikh Temple believes they will now use security guards every Sunday going forward.
Nursing schools across the state currently graduate 3,000 students every year. However, Wisconsin currently needs around 7,000 a year, leaving a large and unmet demand in the nursing field. In order to combat this problem, the nursing school at UW-Madison has introduced an accelerated program that would allow people who have earned a bachelor's degree in another field to earn their nursing degree in 12 months.
Our goal is really truly to try to make an impact on our community, and we know that individuals need access to care. So one of the ways that we're trying to do that is to admit more students, and since we couldn't do it in our traditional program, the accelerated program meets the needs of our students and our community at the same time.
We're being very attentive not to compromise the educational experience for these students, while graduating more nurses in the most efficient, fastest rate, at the most efficient, fastest rate possible.
After only 3 months of use, students in Ogg are experiencing problems with the new gym in the building. The Badger Report's Ben Cross has the story.
Due to numerous complaints from the residents of Ogg Residence Hall, the recreational sports division on campus that runs the new Ogg Hall Fitness Center instituted a new policy that dumbbells may only be used between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. every day. Even with difficulties, officials are still pleased with what they have.
It's been a learning curve, very learning experience. I think as a whole it turned out really nice. I think people are just frustrated that it does get crowded in the peak times. But other than that, I think the equipment that we have here is being used a lot.
Since the closing of the Southeast Recreational Facility on August 18th, Ogg is the new and only gym available for students in Southeast and will be for up to 2 years. Despite the optimistic outlook of rec sports and a clear vote of confidence from residents in the building, students like Taj Rashid that work at Ogg are frustrated with the outcome.
Being part of a residence hall, it has different hours, and along with that you have a lot of carpeted area, a lot less access, and it's realistically just basically one room relative to the surf you at a whole building. I think you're losing out on a lot of workout space, both weight-wise, cardiovascular-wise, and for activities. At the end of the day, it's our site fees that are going to pay for stuff like this, and we're basically sacrificing the time we have here for a better surf in the future.
It ends up being the solution that works. It might have to stick around for the time that we're there, which is about another year and a half to 2 years until surf is built.
While noises might come from many places for students here at UW-Madison, for those within Red Sports and AUG, they're hoping that weightlifting isn't one of them. For the Badger Report, I'm Ben Cross.
And later, we'll take a look at Badger sports.
But first, Jacob Swanson takes a look at our weekend weather.
Snow on Bascom Hill. Find out if we can expect any of that coming up in weather.
At the turn of the last century, we made a promise to our state. We promised that we would not rest until we made life better for Wisconsin. We looked in our own backyard and we planted different crops, bred new herds, identified vitamins, improved harvesting machinery, established food safety standards, and churned a lot of ice cream. We haven't stopped working to make life better for our state and the world. On Wisconsin.
A pulse, felt by one, sends a ripple, felt by some, a shiver, felt by many, until it amplifies, magnifies into a tremor that electrifies. Badgers everywhere, moving as one, tilting the world on its axis.
Winter parking rules for the city of Madison have been put into place this week. Under the rules, if you park on the city street, your vehicle needs to be on the odd number side of the street on odd number days, and the same goes for even number days. The rules are enforced from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m., and failure to comply can result in a fine of $20 or higher if the city is in a declared snow emergency. Alternate parking rules mean snow might be on the way.
Well, the Badger Report's Jacob Swanson will let us know what's to come.
Dan and Elisa, it's looking like we could get some precipitation a few times over the next week, but it might not be any snow. Right now it's clear and we reached a high of 40 degrees today. But tonight, if you're going to the NCAA tournament men's soccer game, it should be pretty nice for mid-November. I think we can expect clear skies and a relatively decent temperature of about 35 degrees for the game. Overnight lows should be in the low 30s. Friday is looking like rain with high temperatures around 43, and Saturday won't be a nice day for that last Camp Randall football game of the year. Expect a high of around 37 with a possible wintry mix. If you're headed to the game, throw on a jacket and maybe even a poncho. For Sunday, you can expect a high of 35 with clear skies, and if you're driving up for that Packer game against the Ravens, you're going to be cold, but it looks like your drive will at least be dry. Temperatures are warming up going into Monday. I'm calling for a high of 45 with some sun poking out from behind the clouds. Unseasonably warm moving into the third week of November. Tuesday temperatures will be back into the high 30s and dry, so it looks like for at least another week we're not going to have any snow in the area. Dan and Elisa, back to you.
Well, hopefully it'll be warm enough for a nice game this weekend, right, Elisa?
Yeah, and it looks like they're setting up on Bascom Hill for a big Michigan game. And Ben Cross will join us next with updates on your favorite Badger athletic teams.
And hockey head coach Tony Granato is leaving the team. But it's not as bad as it sounds. Details are coming up.
In 1905, we made a promise. We promised that our work at Wisconsin would make life better for our state. Our research has developed crops, restored lakes, cured diseases, uncovered history, peered into space, and saved lives. More than a century later, we've not only kept our promise to Wisconsin, we've extended it to the world. On Wisconsin. More than a century ago, we made a commitment to our state. We promised to educate the sons and daughters of Wisconsin. More than 1 million students have passed through our doors. Our alumni have gone on to cure diseases, grow crops, build skyscrapers, found companies, score touchdowns, orbit the moon, and achieve beyond our wildest dreams, but not beyond theirs. On Wisconsin.
A pulse, felt by one, sends a ripple, felt by some. A shiver, felt by many, until it amplifies, magnifies into a tremor that electrifies. Badgers everywhere, moving as one, tilting the world on its axis.
Welcome back to the Badger Report.
And turning now to sports, we're here with Ben Cross. Ben, I hear it's been quite the time for Badger athletics.
Thanks for having me, guys. Wisconsin fall sports are finally winding down, but just heating up, as some teams are preparing for postseason play, while others have already gotten started. Wisconsin football moved to 10-0 for the first time in program history Saturday in a dominant defensive 38-14 win over Iowa. Despite giving Iowa both their touchdowns and interceptions, Alex Hornibrook threw 2 touchdowns, one to Kendrick Pryor for the second score of Pryor's career in the second quarter. The other pass put the game out of reach for Iowa as Hornibrook found A.J. Taylor on a slant to go up by more than 3 scores late in the contest. Jonathan Taylor ran for his usual 157-yard performance and moved to 4th in the Heisman voting. Taylor and Hornibrook did account for the 4 turnovers, however, and the defense cleaned up the mess, holding Iowa to 65 total yards on the game.
They made some great plays for us, and they definitely helped us win that game. I thought a bunch that even when we were turning the ball over, it's not like they were turning into scores. Our defense was stopping them every time, so that was big.
It's been great watching them this game. They really stepped up, and coach challenged them, and they picked it up. We know what we up against now. We just got to win these last 2 ball games and just see where it's going and just focus one game at a time.
Be a Badger soccer fan in Madison as both the men's and women's team open up NCAA tournament play this week after impressive finishes to their regular season. The men's team won their first outright Big Ten championship in school history and their second overall, beating number 2 seeded Indiana in the championship game Sunday 4-2 in penalty kicks after ending regular time in a scoreless tie. The Badgers host an NCAA tournament matchup with Illinois-Chicago at 7 p.m. tonight at McClymonds Soccer Complex. The women's team opened up their NCAA tournament run against Toledo Friday, routing the Rockets 5-0 at home to advance to the second round, with 5 different players notching a goal. The Badgers now travel to South Carolina to take on the number 1 seed Gamecocks tomorrow at 5 p.m. Men's basketball moved to 2-0 in the year after topping Yale at Sunday at home, 89-61 behind a career-high points from Khalil Iverson with 17. The Badgers have won both their games by over 25 points and now put their perfect record to the test tonight as they take on the 15th-ranked Xavier tonight at 7:30 on Fox Sports 1. Monday marked the anniversary of the historic day that Ron Dayne surpassed all other collegiate running backs in major college football history, setting the all-time record for career rushing yards. He would run for 6,397 yards in his time in Madison, en route to a Heisman Trophy honor and a second straight Rose Bowl victory for the Badgers in his senior season. Returning to the scoreboard now, Badgers men's hockey split a series with Michigan State this past weekend, taking the first game 6-3 before slipping on Saturday 2-0. Wisconsin awaits Michigan at home for a series this upcoming weekend. The big headline for men's hockey, however, comes from their head coach, Tony Granato. Despite only his second year at the top of the program, he's brought the Badgers back to national prominence in the rankings and will be assuming an even bigger role in the coming months. Our own Elisa Kuznetsov has the story.
The University of Wisconsin-Madison men's hockey team is currently in the top 10 in the nation and number 4 in the Big Ten. This success comes with the help of head coach Tony Granato, who will be going to the Olympics in February to lead the USA men's hockey team as their head coach. Despite his upcoming absence, Granato is confident in his team and coaching staff that it will be business as usual.
So I don't think we're missing a beat. I'm still communicating with them. I don't call them up and tell them what to do and how to do it. All those plans are in place well before we leave.
Good shot, Steve.
Granato has entrusted his associate head coach Marco Sicchi along with other coaching staff to lead the team.
Our roles didn't change in how we present practice, how we present any kind of meetings for our players. So nothing changed that way. So for our players, it doesn't. The only thing that's different is Tony's not here.
Granato was not only an Olympian himself on Team USA in 1988, but also served as an assistant coach for the team at Sochi in 2014.
Going on the ice there and looking around and seeing the flags,
and knowing you're representing your country is it's really hard to describe the feeling.
While redshirt senior Tim Davison may miss seeing him on the bench, Davison is excited for Granado's Olympic appearance.
He's an unbelievable coach. He's great for USA Hockey. He's been unbelievable for us. It's great for the Wisconsin Badgers, and obviously great for him. We're watching our country. I mean, even the Canadians, I think, are going to be cheering for us this year.
And of course, there's one thing that every Olympic coach wants.
Well, a gold medal would be great.
This year's Olympic team is different than recent years. Tell us more about that, Elisa.
Yeah, when I was speaking to Coach Granado, he was telling me how most of the USA team is all first-time Olympians because the NHL was not allowing any players. So he said it would be an exciting experience for all those players to be representing their country for the first time.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'm sure a lot of US and Badger hockey fans will be excited to see Granado behind the boards this upcoming winter.
Well, stay right with us.
And coming up next, Jacob Swanson will tell us how over hundreds of cranes have flocked in central Wisconsin on their way down south.
At the turn of the last century, we made a promise to our state. We promised that we would not rest until we made life better for Wisconsin. We looked in our own backyard and we planted different crops, bred new herds, identified vitamins, improved harvesting machinery, established food safety standards, and churned a lot of ice cream. We haven't stopped working to make life better for our state and the world. On Wisconsin.
A pulse, felt by one, sends a ripple, felt by some. A shiver, felt by many, until it amplifies, magnifies into a tremor that electrifies. Badgers everywhere, moving as one, tilting the world on its axis.
Every fall, thousands of birds migrate from Wisconsin as temperatures drop.
Jacob Swanson has a story of Wisconsin's sandhill crane migration.
The International Crane Foundation, located in Baraboo, houses a few birds of any given crane species, like the red-crowned crane you just saw and heard. But just down the road, hundreds of native sandhill cranes gather on their migration path. They're headed down from northern Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and Canada, and they use Baraboo as a waypoint on their path down south. Ann Lacey, a crane research coordinator with the foundation, says the cranes could be here for a while, depending on the weather.
If it snows and the fields are covered with snow, the next favorable weather pattern, so strong north winds, they will leave. If the river freezes up and that safe roosting area is taken away from them, they will also leave as soon as possible.
She says that the birds could stay in southern Wisconsin until Christmas, as long as the weather holds up.
As long as that river is open, they will stay here, because why go further south when everything that meets their needs right here have been met?
But seeing crane migration through Wisconsin was almost a thing of the past. It was once thought that there could be as few as 100 cranes in all of Wisconsin. There's currently that many just in the field behind me.
The fact that they've recovered, at least for my profession as a wildlife biologist, is one of the great success stories of the 20th century.
Late conservationist Aldo Leopold wrote that he thought sandhill cranes would one day no longer inhabit Baraboo or Wisconsin, but the state's population today might be between 20 and 30,000.
I think Aldo Leopold would be shocked to see how many of the sandhill cranes now are using the property that he thought that they would never see or hear sandhill cranes using again in his lifetime.
The cranes flock to the area for access to farmland and the Wisconsin River.
It's a pretty big river, lots of sandbars in the river. It's kind of a shallow river, so it's a pretty perfect roosting location for them.
So if you're in Baraboo in the next couple of weeks, find some farmland and you're likely to see some pretty interesting birds.
The behavior that they display is pretty interesting to me. They're pretty special birds, I would say.
For the Badger Report, I'm Jacob Swanson.
How about that? Those sure are some beautiful birds.
Yeah, just another hidden treasure that Wisconsin has.
Well, anyway, that's all we have time for on this week's Badger Report. I'm Dan Chinitz.
And I'm Elisa Kuznetsov. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family. We'll see you after the Thanksgiving break.